Ladies, let me break this down for you in a way that's real, because a lot of times when I get questions from women, they always go like this. Steve, why did he stop calling me? Why hasn't he texted back? Why is he suddenly acting like I don't exist? And I can hear the panic in their voices. I can feel the anxiety. But listen to me carefully. The worst thing you can do when a man ignores you is to go chasing after him. I don't care how much you like him, how fine he is, how much you think he might be the one. Chasing a man who's ignoring you is like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. See, here's what a lot of people don't understand. Silence is power. Silence speaks louder than begging ever will. When a man pulls away, when he goes ghost, when he decides to ignore you, your silence in return is the loudest message you could ever send. Because here's how men are wired. We're hunters. We like the chase. And when we feel like we've already caught something, sometimes our minds play games on us and we pull back just to see if you're still there. It's like a test, whether he admits it or not. And if you fall into that trap, blowing up his phone, sending long paragraphs, asking, what's wrong? Did I do something? You just failed that test. What you told him is, you got me. You can play with me however you want, and I'll still be right here. Now let me give you the flip side of that coin. Imagine a man ignores you. He doesn't text for a few days, doesn't call, doesn't show up like he used to. You don't panic. You don't chase. You don't start interrogating him. Instead, you match his silence with silence. You keep living your life. You're out with your girlfriends. You're posting your smile, not your sadness. You're busy upgrading yourself, your work, your fitness, your mindset. You are radiating like you don't even notice he's gone. Do you know what that does to a man? It drives him crazy, because now he's wondering, wait a minute, why isn't she blowing up my phone? Why isn't she chasing me? Did she lose interest? Is there somebody else? And suddenly the hunter realizes the prey slipped out of sight. And let me tell you something about men. We can't stand that feeling. I'll never forget a conversation I had with one of my homeboys years back. He was dating this woman, and at first he was all over her, calling her, texting her, taking her out. But after a while, he started playing that game. You know the one? Taking longer to reply, skipping a call here and there, acting busy when he wasn't. And I said, man, why are you acting like that? You like her? He said, yeah, I do, but I just want to see if she's going to chase me. I said, you fool, you about to lose a good one? And sure enough, she didn't chase him. She matched his silence. She kept moving, and eventually she cut him off. Do you know what happened after that? He was calling me, regretting it. He couldn't stop talking about how much he missed her, how he wished she would give him another chance. And I told him, that's what happens when you test a woman who knows her worth. That's the kind of power silence gives you. It shows that you value yourself enough not to settle for scraps. It shows that your life does not revolve around any one man. It shows that if he wants you, he better come correct, because you are not sitting around waiting to be chosen like some prize on a shelf. Men respect what they have to work for, and they always come back when they feel that shift of power, when they realize that the attention they took for granted is no longer theirs on demand. But let me be clear, silence is not about playing games. It's not about manipulation. I'm not telling you to sit around with a stopwatch, calculating how long it's been since he texted so you can wait double that before you respond. That's childish. What I'm talking about is authentic self-respect. It's knowing that your energy is too valuable to waste on somebody who isn't showing up for you. It's knowing that you can choose peace over drama, and that you don't have to explain your worth to anybody. When you truly know that, your silence becomes natural. You don't need to chase, because you've already decided that you're not afraid to lose anybody who doesn't know how to value you. And let me add this, because I know somebody's thinking, but Steve, what if he never comes back? Good. That means he was never meant to be there in the first place. That silence revealed the truth. Sometimes God removes people from your life because you were never supposed to carry them into your future. And you won't see that if you're too busy chasing after someone who's ignoring you. So understand, silence is not just power in relationships, it's protection. It's protection. It filters out the ones who were only there to waste your time, and it makes space for the man who will show up consistently without you having to beg. I've seen women transform their entire love life by understanding this one principle. I know women who used to panic every time a man went quiet, and now they laugh at it. They say, if he doesn't call, I'm cool. I'm busy. I'm not waiting around. And do you know what happens? Those same men who thought they had the upper hand always circle back. They call like nothing happened. They say, hey, stranger, where you been? They act like they were just busy when in reality your silence shook them. Your silence reminded them that you are not desperate. And that is the most attractive quality a woman can have, confidence in her own worth. So, ladies, the next time a man ignores you, I want you to remember this: silence is not weakness. Silence is strength. Silence is you saying, I don't beg for love. I don't chase what runs from me. I let what's meant for me find me, and I let what's not meant for me fade away. Because men always come back when they realize they can't control your emotions with their silence. They always come back when they realize you don't panic in their absence. They always come back when they see you shining, unbothered, and moving forward. And if they don't, then trust me, your silence just saved you from years of wasted energy. Let me tell you something I've learned after years of watching relationships rise and fall, and after listening to thousands of women call into my shows asking the same questions over and over again. The one mistake I see too many women make when a man ignores them is they stop focusing on themselves and start focusing entirely on him. They put their life on pause waiting for a text. They lose sleep replaying conversations. They ask their friends to analyze every little thing he said, trying to decode it like it's some mystery novel. And while all of that is going on, their own shine, their own energy, their own growth takes a back seat. Let me tell you right now, that's backwards. The greatest thing you can do when a man ignores you is not to run after him, but to put all that energy right back into yourself. Because here's the truth. Men notice what you're doing when they're not around. They notice how you carry yourself, how you treat yourself, how you live your life. And when you stay stuck in a place of waiting, begging, worrying, you're sending a message that says, you're more important than me. My life is defined by whether or not you call. That doesn't make a man respect you more. It makes him respect you less. But when you flip the script and you put the focus back where it belongs, on you, everything changes. Let me paint this picture for you. A man ignores you, doesn't text for a couple of days. Instead of blowing up his phone, you go to the gym. You're in there sweating, taking care of your body, looking better, feeling stronger. Instead of crying on your couch, you call up your girls, you go out, you laugh, you live. Instead of scrolling through his social media, you're learning something new, picking up a skill, reading a book, starting that project you kept putting off. Suddenly, your whole vibe shifts. You're glowing, not from makeup, but from confidence. You're radiating not because he gave you attention, but because you gave yourself attention. And let me tell you what happens when a man sees that. He gets confused because he expected you to crumble. He expected you to be sitting by the phone. But instead, you're out here leveling up. And that does something to a man's ego. It makes him realize he's not the center of your world. See, men are drawn to women who have their own lives. A woman who is focused on her career, her family, her health, her dreams. That woman is magnetic. That woman doesn't need to beg for attention because attention naturally finds her. And when a man ignores you and you keep building yourself, two things happen. Either he comes back because he sees you shining brighter than before, or he stays gone and you still win because you upgraded anyway. That's what I call a no-lose situation. I've talked to women who told me their whole life changed when they stopped obsessing over what some man was doing and started investing in themselves. One woman told me, Steve, I was stuck on this guy who wouldn't commit, who kept disappearing, who treated me like an option. And every time he ignored me, I chased harder. Until one day I said no more. I signed up for a class. I started working on my business idea. I focused on my kids, my health, my joy. And you know what? He came back. But by the time he came back, I didn't even want him anymore because I had built a life that was too good to let someone who ignored me back into it. That right there is the power of focusing on yourself. And listen, I know it's not easy. When your heart is involved, it feels like your mind is trapped in a loop. You wake up thinking about him, you go to bed thinking about him, and every little ding on your phone makes your heart jump. But you've got to discipline yourself to break that cycle. When you catch yourself obsessing, redirect that energy. Ask yourself, what can I do for me right now? Can I work out? Can I pray? Can I plan something for my future? Can I start building that dream I've been putting off? That's how you take control of your story again. Because if you let a man's silence dictate your self-worth, you'll never find peace. But if you let his silence push you towards self-growth, then you win no matter what. I remember something my mama used to tell me growing up. She said, baby, never let anybody else be the reason you shine. Shine because God gave you light, not because somebody else noticed it. And that stuck with me. Too many people are walking around dimming their own light, waiting for someone else to flip the switch for them. Stop doing that. Flip your own switch. Light up your own life. When you start focusing on your own growth, your own happiness, your own peace, not only do men notice, but the right man notices. And the right man doesn't ignore a woman who knows her worth. He values her. He cherishes her. He shows up. Let me give you another real story. I had a lady on my radio show years ago. She said, Steve, my man ignores me for days. I don't know what to do. I said, baby, what do you do when he ignores you? She said, I text him more. I call more. I even drive by his place sometimes. I said, that right there is your mistake. You are giving him free rent in your head. Stop investing in him and start investing in you. A few months later, she wrote back and said she took my advice. She started a side hustle. She joined a dance class. She started treating herself to things she used to wait for him to give her. And guess what? The man came crawling back asking for her time again. But this time she said, no, thank you, because she had discovered something better. She had discovered herself. And that's what I want every woman to understand. Focusing on yourself is not about revenge. It's not about making a man jealous. It's about remembering who you are and what you bring to the table. It's about refusing to lose yourself in the process of trying to be loved by someone else. It's about building such a strong foundation that no man's silence, no man's rejection, no man's absence can shake it. And when you do that, you walk different. You talk different. You carry yourself with a confidence that is magnetic. So don't waste your time asking why he ignored you. Don't waste your energy chasing after answers that won't bring you peace. Take that time, take that energy and pour it into you. Because at the end of the day, the greatest relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. And when you learn to love yourself fully, you'll stop tolerating half love from anybody else. Ladies, let me tell you the biggest mistake you can ever make when a man ignores you. It's losing your self-respect in the process. Because I've seen it happen time and time again. A man goes quiet, he starts pulling back, he doesn't return calls, and suddenly the woman he's with turns into somebody she doesn't even recognize. She starts chasing, begging, pleading, crying, lowering her standards just to keep him around. And then later, when the dust settles, she looks in the mirror and she doesn't even know who she became. That right there is dangerous. Because once you start losing respect for yourself, you're teaching everybody else around you how to treat you. Now let me be real with you, because sometimes we need the tough truth. A man can only treat you the way you allow him to treat you. If you accept being ignored, if you accept being treated like an afterthought, if you accept breadcrumbs instead of the whole loaf, then guess what? That's all you're going to get. And the longer you stay in that cycle, the more you convince yourself that it's normal, when in reality it's not. You deserve attention, consistency, honesty, and respect. But you will never get it if you hand your power away every time somebody withholds it from you. I remember a conversation I had with a young lady who asked me, Steve, why do men keep ghosting me? I said, baby, let me ask you a question. When they ghost you, what do? She said, well, I text and I try to figure out what's wrong. I even give them another chance when they finally show back up. I said, there's your answer. You don't set a standard. You don't demand respect. You keep rewarding bad behavior with another chance. And men are like kids. If you don't put boundaries in place, they will test you forever. That's why self-respect is everything. You have to draw a line in the sand and say, this is who I am, and this is what I will not tolerate. And that line should not be crossed just because somebody has a nice smile or makes your heart skip a beat. You can love someone deeply and still refuse to be treated less than what you deserve. Because here's the truth. A man might not always say it, but he respects a woman who respects herself. He might play around with the woman who lets him get away with anything, but the woman who stands tall, the woman who doesn't beg, the woman who has standards, that's the woman he can't stop thinking about. And let me be clear, having self-respect does not mean being cold. It does not mean being rude. It does not mean playing games. It means knowing your worth and refusing to compromise it for anybody. It means you don't send 10 unanswered messages to a man who's ignoring you. You don't chase someone who isn't choosing you. You don't rearrange your life for someone who can't even return a phone call. You walk with dignity. You walk with patience. You walk with the understanding that if this man can't see your value, then somebody else will. Now let me tell you something about men. We notice when a woman respects herself. We notice when she's not easily swayed, when she doesn't tolerate nonsense, when she carries herself like she's the prize. And it does something to us. It makes us step up. Because here's the truth. A man will rise to the standard you set or he'll fall away. And both outcomes are good for you. If he rises, you've got a man who values you. If he falls, you just made space for somebody better. Either way, you win, but it starts with self-respect. I'll never forget an older woman who once told me her secret to love. She said, "Steve, I never begged a man to stay. I never fought another woman for his attention. I never chased anyone who walked away. You know why? Because I told myself, if he can't see my worth, he's not my man." And she said she never had a problem finding love because her energy was different. She walked like she knew she was enough, and the men who weren't ready for that either disappeared or stepped up. That right there is wisdom. I see too many women giving out discounts on their self-worth. They're slashing the price tag on their love just to keep a man interested. Baby, stop putting yourself on clearance. You are full-price designer, one of a kind. And anybody who can't afford that, anybody who doesn't want to pay that cost in effort, time, respect, and consistency, they don't deserve you. When you hold yourself at that standard, it might feel lonely for a minute, but the right man will recognize it, and he will pay it gladly because he knows the value of what he's getting. Now let's get practical. When a man ignores you, the temptation to reach out, to beg, to demand answers is strong. But here's what self-respect looks like in that moment. It looks like taking a breath, stepping back, and asking yourself, is this behavior acceptable to me? Does this line up with the kind of relationship I want? If the answer is no, then you don't chase. You don't explain yourself to someone who isn't explaining themselves to you. You don't beg someone to communicate who clearly doesn't care enough to. You hold your peace, and you let your silence do the talking. That silence says, I will not compete for love. I will not fight for a place in your life. If you want me, you better act like it. If not, I'm good. And let me tell you what happens when you operate like that. Men take notice. The ones who aren't serious will fade away because they know they can't play games with you. But the ones who do care, the ones who know they were acting up, they will straighten up fast. They'll come back saying, hey, I'm sorry, I've been busy. I should have called. They'll try to fix it because they realize they're dealing with a woman who won't tolerate less than respect. And if they don't, that's still a win because you just saved yourself months or even years of wasted time. Self-respect is not just about what you say no to. It's also about what you say yes to. Say yes to peace. Say yes to growth. Say yes to joy that doesn't depend on someone else's behavior. When you respect yourself, you attract people who respect you too. And when you lower your standards, you attract people who think they can treat you any kind of way. I've seen it so many times. The moment a woman decides to stop begging, stop chasing, stop lowering her standards, her whole energy changes. She starts walking taller. She starts smiling more. She starts glowing, and men notice. And sometimes that very same man who ignored her will circle back, wondering why she's no longer chasing. But by then she's leveled up so much that she can decide if he even deserves another chance. That's what self-respect gives you. Choice. So, if you're being ignored, if you're sitting there waiting for a man to notice you, I want you to hear me loud and clear. Don't give up your dignity just to keep someone in your life. Don't sell yourself short. Don't let anybody treat you like you're an option when you know you're a priority. Because at the end of the day, the way you treat yourself teaches the world how to treat you. And if you carry yourself with self-respect, you will never have to beg for love. It will find you naturally. Let me tell you something, ladies. When a man ignores you, when he pulls away, when he acts like he don't see you, the last thing you should do is shrink yourself down to nothing just to fit into his little world. You don't beg. You don't cry at his feet. You don't let your whole life collapse just because somebody stopped giving you attention. No, what you do in that moment is you make yourself unforgettable. You step into a version of yourself that shines so bright that even if he tried, he couldn't erase you from his mind. That's how men work. We don't forget the woman who carried herself with class, who upgraded herself when we thought she would break, who smiled when we thought she would fold. That kind of woman stays in our head forever. See, when a man decides to ignore you, he expects you to chase. He expects you to be in his inbox asking, "Where are you? Why aren't you calling me? What did I do wrong?" That's predictable, and predictable don't leave no impression. But when you flip the script, when you stay calm, when you go live your life like you're the star of your own movie, when you start walking different, dressing different, shining different, then you become unforgettable. Because now you've shown him something he didn't expect. Instead of falling apart, you leveled up. Instead of chasing, you replaced that energy with growth. I've seen it happen so many times. A man ignores a woman, thinks she's gonna sit there waiting on him, but she takes that silence as a gift. She says, "All right, you're not calling. Cool. I've got time now to hit the gym. I've got time to start that business. I've got time to work on my dreams, to travel, to glow up." And a few months later, when he comes scrolling back on her Instagram, he don't even recognize her. She looks happier, healthier, more confident. And that's when the regret kicks in. Because men remember the woman they thought they had, and now she looks like an upgraded version of that woman, the one that got away. That's what unforgettable looks like. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, one of my homeboys was dating this girl. She was sweet, she gave him everything, and he got comfortable, too comfortable. He started pulling away, stopped calling as much, started hanging out with his boys more, ignoring her texts. She could have begged, she could have gone crazy, but she didn't. You know what she did? She flipped the energy. She started focusing on herself. She signed up for classes, started hanging with her girls, started posting her glow, started dressing different. Man, when I tell you this woman was shining, she was shining. A few months later, he tried to circle back, but it was too late. She was in a whole different place in life, and she didn't even want him no more. To this day, that man talks about her like she's the one that